So we are starting today on a 7-week journey, and it is on the book that we're studying for the Adventures in Faith with the Soul Circles, and that's the one that Bill is open on Friday about. But it's Pam Grout's book. It's called E Squared, 9 Do-It-Yourself Energy Experiments that prove that your thoughts create reality. Okay, so we are going to start this journey today, and it's all about this invisible field that she calls it the FP, the, what is it? I have it here. I'm like, field of possibility, or the IP, infinite potentiality. And see, in Unity, we study what is God. We say God is, and it starts with an L, love. We say God is love. And we also talk a lot about principles 1 and 2 in Unity, which has 5 basic principles. The first one being God is all there is, and therefore I am one with God. We are divine beings, each an individualized expression of this love. However, we don't often talk about the other L that spirit is. Want to know what it is? It's law. See, spirit is both principle and a presence. And in Ernest Holmes's book, The Revealing Word, which is basically the dictionary of metaphysical terms, I mean, we talk about what God is, and we always refer to God in the personal. It is this love. However, it's much more than that, and we don't put enough attention on it. So for the next 7 weeks, be prepared. We're going to really dig deep into this idea that there is something that is creating from every one of our thoughts. That's the premise of this book, that our thoughts are creating our reality, and not just to take it as a theory or something to talk about, but we're going to be doing experiments. You're going to become, I just deem you all scientists now, okay? You're all scientists who are going to experiment with these 9 different energy experiments to prove to yourself in an easy, non-money way that this is true. Because once you get proof, and you will be able to go, wait a minute, my thoughts really do create my reality. Because after 9 experiments, you'll get that. So his definition of God, hello, is the infinite, the eternal. God is not person, but principle. Okay, so you have presence, which is the love, and you have principle, which is the law. It's the underlying unchangeable truth, which there can be no variation. God is personal to us when we recognize it within us as our indwelling life. Okay, that's when it becomes personal. God is not some being out here that we're praying to. Actually, when we pray from. It's a whole different way of looking at it. If I'm a divine being, Jesus, the great metaphysician, wayshower, and teacher, he taught us that he didn't ever ask for anything. He just basically gave thanks, knowing that it could be there, and immediately it was there. The water into wine, the person walking out of the tomb, people getting up and walking after being lame. Because he was a metaphysician teaching us and said everything that he could do, we could do too. Anybody up to that level yet? Right? So it is the personal is the indwelling life, intelligence, and love within us. We have this universal identification of ourselves, and as we come into the God consciousness. So we have subconscious, we have a higher consciousness, and we have our just regular daily consciousness. God is principle, the unchangeable life and love, the intelligence of being. This principle does not occupy space. It has no limitations of time or matter. It exists as the one underlying cause of which all things come forth. So there is this invisible energy. Everything is energy. It cannot be energy. Our thoughts are more powerful than we know. Ernest Holmes says that there's a power in the universe greater than us, and we can use it. You also heard me say that we can use it, but it can use us. But it's like a law is like electricity. There is this law that our thoughts are creating our reality, but you have to be plugged in, right? You can have electricity, and it's the law that is always forming our experiences. It's really something that we need to study more, because none of us really 100% believe it. Because if we did, we would probably be manifesting and doing things differently and maybe better and having greater experiences of love and health and joy and peace and harmony in our lives, when I can know that my power of my thought is creating my reality. And it's like, it's kind of scary because we have thoughts, right, that aren't necessarily positively focused. In the 5 Principles by Ellen Davenport, the principle number 3, our thoughts, feelings, and beliefs have the power to create our reality. And when I think of co-creating with God, the law also works for those who have no concept of God. Like any universal law, it is in effect for everyone, the same way all the time. So whether we have an awareness that our thoughts are creating our reality or not, it's going to work because it is a law. It never changes. It always works. It is a spiritual principle that governs our lives, whether we know it or not, believe it or not. We are creating with every thought and feeling. That's kind of scary, and it's empowering because I have the ability to control or stop the negative thoughts that I have, and we all have, to change it. But it takes some work and effort, and I'll be talking about that in a bit. We are choosing moment to moment what happens to us and for us. We choose with our focus. We face a universe of unlimited possibilities, and we choose which one becomes real for us by focusing on that possibility. Every possible outcome already exists in potential, but we draw forth our reality with our expectations and anticipations, whether we want it or not. Okay? If we are focused on a particular outcome, it shows up. Our minds are programmed at a very young age, okay? We get programmed. We have infinite possibilities when we're born. Everything is there for us. But then we get taught what to think, how to think, what's right, what's wrong, and we go through this whole process, and all of a sudden we have beliefs that aren't necessarily our own, but we have bought into them because we couldn't say as a little one to say, no, I'm not going to believe that. Later in life, you might say that, and you might get punished because you don't want to believe like everybody else. And so what happens in our brains, when you get told over and over and over again, you can't have that, you can't do that, you're not good enough, what are you thinking? What's wrong with you? You get these negative statements thrown at you, and you have to become this good little boy, good little girl, right? And what happens in your brain is that we get neurological pathways. When I say the word money, you all have a file that has money in it, and that file comes up. And whatever your experience with money is, your beliefs about money that you have developed are now running. And probably every person in here has a different idea of what money is because of your neural pathways in the file cabinet that comes up. I used to have a belief that money causes misery. Do you know how much money I had? I went like this, and I didn't know that there was a subconscious belief running me. until I did some non-dominant handwriting. I wrote, "What is money?" And I wrote with my right hand. And then I said, "What is money?" And chicken scratched. And the first thing I said was, "Money causes misery." And I'm like, where did that come from? I suspect that as a 4 or 5-year-old, what I saw was my dad, who was his way of doing love was to earn money. So he was working a lot and not there. And mom wasn't happy because she had 3 little kids to raise, and dad also was a drinker. So, she was miserable. And when your mom's miserable and the kids are running around going, okay, this. And so somehow I got this belief that money causes misery. So I don't want to be miserable. And I was struggling having money go from paycheck to paycheck. And what I needed to do, because once I became conscious of my unconscious belief, I needed to change this belief because that wasn't going to work for me. Then I said, well, money's actually neutral, right? It doesn't have an up or a down. It's just money. It's an exchange. And I thought, well, money causes misery is a low vibrational thought, which I'm creating my deficit in money. And then we have neutral. And I went, okay, neutral's good. I said, but what if I had a higher thought of what money is? And I said, what's the highest thought of anything? What's the highest vibration? It's love. And so I went out to the CVS and I got a red stamp pad and a red ink heart, and I stamped all of my checks with a red heart. If you ever see a dollar bill with a heart on it, I don't know where it came from. On my check register, I had hearts. So money was green love. Money was green love. Money was love in expression. I changed that belief, and I didn't change anything in my outer world, and I now had money. That is how powerful this is. But I have to be aware of what's going on in here because I had to reset my brain. See, we're preset in our thinking by the conditioned thoughts, the fear-based thoughts. In our world, it's like a TV set. You have how many channels that you can pick from? But I know that I was preset with a channel that said, money causes misery, and I kept watching the same channel because that's all I could see was what I knew. See, reality is subjective. Your reality will be different than mine and yours because reality is only our perception of something. Your perception of something is going to be different than your perception of something. So reality, whatever you think is real, isn't necessarily real. How does that feel? We think that this floor and this building are solid walls. They're not solid at all. The quantum physicists will tell you that everything is motion. Everything is energy that is slowed down into form. Einstein said that energy is matter. Your thoughts are creating the matter in your life, your experiences, your health, you have to have a thought of a podium before the podium's going to be there. You have to have a thought, and then when you give it enough attention, it's going to become condensed. So we are creating all of the time. And the idea is in this book and in this journey is that we're going to become scientists. You're all a scientist, and we're going to start doing these experiments. And she makes it easy. She says, you need to give these experiments. If you told your mind or you thought to yourself, I have to do this all of the time, forever, trying to reset my mind. In this case, no. She gives you a 48-hour window to do an experiment. Out of the 9, there's 7 of them where you get a deadline of 48 hours. I'm going to test this experiment for 48 hours. So when you give it a deadline, it's the deadline principle. You start to pay attention. You start to look for the thing that she's offering to say to you. Because when you got the book, you know that you're going to be asking the universe to bring you something, And I can't tell you because every week is different, and I'm not going to give the experiments until starting next week. So if you don't have the book, get the book. If you want to join a group, join Bill's group, which are going to start this coming Friday. Because what it's going to do is, being in a soul circle, is you're going to get to do an experiment. Now, the thing is our minds are very powerful. They're so powerful that you can create another thought, which is doubt. And that doubt can be so big, but it's subconscious. You can be like, nah, this isn't going to really work. Well, guess what? The power of your doubt is going to win out because it's a powerful thought. The idea is, when you do these experiments, you're going to suspend all judgment. You're just going to go, what if this was true? What if this experiment actually works? Because the experiments, she has a lab sheet. It's called, here's the principle, here's the hypothesis, here's what you get to do for 48 hours, and then do the results of your experiment. This is to prove to you that your mind is creating things, okay? And that's why it's a very simplistic book, but it really can take you deep into understanding and knowing something more than a theory, more than reading about it, more than talking about it. It's called doing something. It can be simply amazing to our minds, which don't necessarily buy 100% that my mind is creating my experience, right? So the idea is that we are going to get on a channel, the channel of what you would love to have in your life, because that's the whole premise of it. Your intention, by the way, when you intend something, it's already there, because the universe, the field of potentiality and possibility, doesn't know time and space. It's already there. We just think that it's going to take time for it to get there, because we have this idea that things don't instantaneously manifest, right? So the idea is they're already there. For instance, the mice got into my car, in my engine, and ate the wires back in January. And basically, it was going to cost me $4,500 to get it repaired. And it was a 2016 car, and it had 100,000 miles on it. And it was like, I'm not putting that much money into a car that's older. So decided I needed to release it and get another car. I knew I wanted a Toyota or a Honda, and I wanted a hybrid. So I went searching, and then I found a car because I needed to do it really quickly. And so at the Toyota and Santa Fe, I found the Corolla, and I was like, I sat down in it, and I said, yeah, this feels right. And they had somebody else who was going to buy it, but the next day when I came back, they said, that person backed out, so it can be yours. So I bought the car. And then it snowed the next day, that night. It was a Saturday, and I was going to go up the little incline, right, to come to work. But the car, with only front-wheel drive, only wanted to go part way. And I'm like, no, this isn't really what I want. And it's not really a hybrid. It's not really what I want. And then I didn't know what to do. So Sunday after church, I start calling and Googling, where do I find a hybrid all-wheel drive car? And I called some places, and they're like, well, it could be here next week. I'm like, I don't have till next week. I just bought a car, and I need to be, like, I've just paid $2,100 for it, right? Or 20, whatever it is. So I paid for it, and nobody could get that to me. So I called Toyota of Santa Fe. They had one car on the lot that was exactly what I wanted, which was a hybrid, which was brand new, 2025 instead of 2021, had 25 miles on it. I paid it in full, and the car already existed. The point is, the car existed. And they basically took the trade in and gave me that. And yet, I was plugged in, but not plugged all the way in to this manifestation. But the truth is, the car already existed. I wasn't ready for it on the first day, but obviously I got we have to get the right car, and they had it already. So go and, this is just to show us that we can manifest things much quicker if we believe that it can be. And by the way, giving a deadline to the universe is kind of weird. At least it was for me. And at one point when I was in Tahoe, I said to the universe, because I was praying to have a love of my life. And then I said, by September 1st. And I gave the universe till September 1st. Now, I was dating a particular person at that time, and it wasn't really going anywhere. In fact, a couple days before that, I realized it wasn't going anywhere, and I loved this person, but it wasn't going to be, so I was letting that go. It was on September 1st, I got a letter from this person I'd been dating, and they were ready to go full into this relationship with me. They didn't know that it was September 1st, my deadline. So I was like, wow, deadlines actually work. It's kind of scary to tell the universe, I'm having this by this date. And then go, shit, what if it doesn't happen, right? You just go, well, So here's the point. You get to choose. You get to choose whether you want to read this book and do the experiments. If you want to test these principles out for yourself, you have a choice on what you focus on every day. You have a choice to refocus yourself. Every day you have a choice. The question is, what are you going to choose today? You have a power, and you can use it. You have to pay attention and then choose what you really would love. And so it is.